Hey fam, welcome back. Tisha here, back with another Real Housewives of Salt Lake City review. This is season 6, episode 4, or maybe 7, depending on what Peacock has to say about it. And it's called Petty Little Liars. Go ahead and do me a favor, hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and hype me up. Let's get into it. So we are still at this luncheon that is hosted by Lisa, where the goal is supposed to be her clearing up the allegations that have been made against her. In my opinion, she did not do that. Whitney just finished storming out after tossing her napkin in Lisa's face and yelling in Lisa's face because she thought that Lisa supposedly called her a redneck. But I think that it was about Lisa calling her out about her business because she was going off and she was upset before Lisa made it the redhead comment that she mistakenly thought was redneck. Now that she stormed off, Lisa has her sights on Angie. So she tells Angie, I don't appreciate you saying the horrible things that you had to say about me. The Jen Shaw comment was low. In my opinion, there is no comparison. Maybe she was trying to say that Lisa is a fraud like Jen Shaw, but it still shouldn't have been said. We do know, however, that Angie took it back instantly, but nobody is saying that. And if Lisa doesn't do anything else, she's going to get you back for making certain statements about her. So she decides to imply that Angie, well, let me not say imply because she says it straight out of her mouth, that Angie doesn't own her businesses, saying that Angie owns 1.5 of her salons. The rest are franchises. I want to know, how would Lisa know that? Did you take the time to hire somebody to look up this information? Did you take the time in your busy workday of being a wife and a mother to do that? Because Lisa isn't a girl's girl to me. She's not a real friend, because friends don't spend their extracurricular hours or their spare time digging into other people's business or financials in order to figure out what they can utilize to spray them later on if they get pissed off with them. So Angie is not about to let Lisa lie on her. So at this point, she's standing up and she corrects her. She tells her she's wrong because she actually owes 3 successful salons and the rest of them are franchises. I actually feel like that's smart. Because in order for it to be a franchise, if it was something that Angie and her husband had created on their own and it's a franchise, at some point money exchanges hands with Angie and her husband in order for them to utilize their products, their name, etc. So whether it's 1 or it's 10, what does it even really matter? So Lisa is over talking her as usual because that's what Lisa does. And she keeps calling her a liar, keeps saying it's 1.5. Angie tells her she doesn't know the facts. You do French fries, I do franchises. I don't understand how we got the French fries, but the ladies kind of think that's funny. Angie, we find out, apparently invested, is what she's calling it, some money into Lisa's son business to support it. I think she's saying like she gave her a certain amount of funds to purchase some things to put into her salon. So she's trying to figure out why, if Lisa's supposed to be like this business savvy person, why she herself isn't promoting her son's business. I don't get it either because we haven't really heard much more about it. I actually forgot about it until it got brought up here. So we saw in earlier seasons like Jen Shaw taking, she didn't take any pictures, but she was at the photo shoot and all those other things. And we don't hear anything else about it. So I get it. She's trying to figure out why Lisa isn't advertising that when Angie herself at some point had her products, or her son's products, I should say, on her shelves. I'm saying at some point because later on we see that she didn't. We'll get to it. She says instead, Lisa has been trying to get sponsorships with a company that Angie has already worked with for years. I don't even understand why Angie felt like this was worth mentioning. You have to be careful what you bring up, because if you bring up the wrong thing, Lisa's going to use that to distract the people. So Lisa says they want to work with her because they love her shiny, pretty hair. And Angie is like, everybody here has nice, pretty hair. She then says that Lisa should kind of be grateful that she even had the product on her shelves, because her son's product are C grade products that should really be on the shelves of Walmart. I said, Lord. As soon as she said it, I knew it was gonna be a problem. But I get what she's saying. Her line that she carries, whoever line that she carries in her salons, is more high end, and she's saying that his is not. But it was a different way to do it. As soon as she said it, I knew that Lisa was gonna come for her. I don't think she should have made the statement about it being a C product. I think that she should have just said that she has, more expensive I don't know. Y'all get what I'm trying to say. Like, just say that you have other products that appeal to a different audience or something like that. There was a way to say it nicely. Now, Angie tries to act like it wasn't a dig. Angie, it was a dig. I need you to stand in your stuff when you do it. I hate that she backpedals when somebody tries to call her out. So Lisa calls Angie jealous. Meredith then jumps in and says, like, nobody wants to hear that their business is called a C business. Nobody wants that C business referencing their products. So then Heather speaks up, and she points out that when the ladies went camping, that things were said about Lisa that were wrong and low. I agree. I also want to point out that Heather didn't make it any better by the way that she presented it to Lisa. I feel like Heather made it worse. I think that Heather should have told those ladies in that moment that they need to make sure that they take up their issues with Lisa, which we did hear in that moment, Angie saying she'll talk to Lisa herself. But I don't even think that she got a chance to, because she couldn't wait. Heather couldn't wait to go back and relay that information. So she says, Lisa, you just went low. Talking about her business and counting her franchise. And Angie, you went low too, because you dissed her son's product line. I don't feel like it was about her son. I think her son kind of caught astray. I think it was more about the whole marketing aspect of it. But you guys let me know what you think. So she tells her, Lisa, this entire thing that you just did, this whole event, it was horrible, which it was. To my surprise, I'm actually agreeing with Heather here, because it's clear to me that it was Lisa's plan all along to get back at these ladies. This wasn't just her saying, oh, well, look at this, when she was telling her socialite friend that she's got a surprise for them. This was, I'm going to get y'all back in one way or another. So she tells Lisa, like, Lisa, you're fearless, you're strong. When you're on somebody's side, like, you're invincible. But when you're against someone, you feel very vulnerable. I do not call it vulnerability. Being against someone isn't vulnerability. A lot of people call vulnerability when what it really is frustration or anger. I think that Lisa does not let getting called out. And when she gets called out, she gets angry. Lisa says she is vulnerable, because some of the ladies like Mary, like, you don't show us that you're vulnerable, da, da, da. And she's like, I am, I just don't show it. I grew up very differently than everybody else, so I just show it in a different way. You don't know how the rest of those young ladies grew up, because from what it sounds like, some of those other ladies have had difficulties as well. And here's the other thing. At what point are you going to stop using the way that you were brought up as an excuse to why you maneuver the way that you maneuver? If you see that it's problematic, you got all that money, go and get help. Go to a therapist, sit on a couch. A lot of these women in this show need to go sit on a couch. They do. And I'm not trying to insult anybody, because I myself have been in therapy for years. I feel like it's never ending. There's seasons where you need more of it, and there's seasons where you need less of it. So she then starts to cry, like she always does, because when she sheds tears, it gets her some reaction. So everybody, in my opinion, at the table falls for it. Whitney is back at this time, and we don't even address Whitney anymore for the rest of this scene. So she tells Angie that she loves her and she's just sensitive when it comes to her. Angie feels the same way. You say all of that just for Lisa to then come back and reignite this beef a few days later. Anyways, she says, when you love someone hard and they do something to you, it just hurts so much more. I agree, it does. She says, I thought we were in a good place, but when these conversations I heard were coming up and the things that I heard you said, it hurt me. That is fair. Rather than all this back and forth, this tit for tat, this your business is this my business is that, it would have went so much better if they handled it this way in the very beginning. Address it with her. Don't dig into her business. Period. They apologize to each other, but it's fake. Lisa then tells Heather that she loves her and she appreciates her honesty. As for Bronwyn, they both agree that they got some work to do. Bronwyn says we both hurt each other, and when we can both acknowledge it, in other words, when you can say that you hurt me just as much as I hurt you, then we can move forward. Lisa does a cheers and says that even when she's mad at them, she still loves them all. If the love that you show to Angie was what you pull later on, I don't really feel like that's love. I feel like there's always some part, and it's not just Lisa, because a few of the ladies do it, where they got this get back spirit. Rather than really resolving things, they brush it under the rug for the scene. 1 minute y'all are screaming at each other, the next is I love you, and then it's supposed to be done, but it's not done because there's really no resolve. Okay, let's go ahead and jump to this whole thing with Angie and Lisa. So Heather goes to one of Angie's salons. Beautiful salon. Let's be clear. Angie was a cosmetologist doing hair for years, but once the business picked up, there was no need for her to be on that end of it. So it's great that she's expanding. It's great that she's shifting positions. But what ends up happening is when you're so busy being the owner, you kind of let some of your skills fall to the side. And what ended up happening was not only was she not touching clientele, but she let her license expire. So now she has to take some tests over again and take some recertifications in order to have it back and current. Heather's coming over to be what I'm going to call a live mannequin so that she could practice some stuff on her. So she puts rollers in her hair, and as they are speaking, Heather fills her in on what happened the other day. Now, it turns out that Angie was at work the other day in one of her salons having a conversation with Sean when this lady that she didn't recognize showed up. Turns out that that lady was Lisa's assistant, and she was there to pick up her son's products. There is nothing wrong with Lisa doing that. If you said some stuff about how the products aren't being pushed and all those other things, then I too might have wanted to get back my product. But if they were okay and if they had made up, what would it have taken for Lisa to call Angie on the phone or to shoot Angie an email letting her know that because the product isn't moving, I've decided to go ahead and remove that product from your stores. I'm going to go ahead and compensate you. Thank you so much for doing business with you. Keep it professional, right? Because y'all are businesswomen. Let's keep it professional. So I feel like she should have called her to let her know that she was going to be randomly sending this lady over to her place of work. So she tells her she's there to get the product. The product isn't even on the shelves because Angie proceeds to go into some closet where the product has been sitting for however many months or years, and it's collected dust because it's just been sitting there. She gives it to the assistant is gone. Turns out that that's not the end of it, because Lisa later sent a text saying that I just Venmo'd you, like I just sent you $600. And by the way, I can send my cleaners to your salon to clean. I said, oh, wow. You know she's saying that because the product was dusty. Ooh, but we all know it was dusty because it was in the closet. So Angie doesn't let it go because Angie's not that type of person. She says, you should have probably sent that $600 to help pay back the people who say that you owe them money. I never said that you owed me anything. My salons aren't dusty. Your products are, though, because they've been sitting here. I said, not going to do anything else. She's going to come back at you. So Lisa's response isn't even worth mentioning. Something about, at least I don't have to use a credit card for vacations or something along those lines. Heather says that this happened because she brought up her son's products, but they already made up for it, so it shouldn't have happened. And that's the part that Heather is missing. Call out the both of them in this moment. I get she feels like Angie went too far and Angie shouldn't have responded, but Lisa once again started it again. So Angie's like, the only reason why the business thing with the products even came up is because Lisa keeps throwing jabs. She keeps throwing jabs. And by the way, her hair isn't better than everybody else's. It's like dyed bowling ball black. It's not actually shiny. I was laughing because it just goes to show you how petty Angie is. And Heather didn't find it funny. And she's like, this is why it's hard to support you, because you go really, really hard when it comes to you, coming back at somebody, as does Lisa. Let's not forget that, Heather. So Angie points out, Lisa does it too. At this point, Angie doesn't know where she stands or what she's going to say the next time she sees Lisa. Next, we see a little quick run through of Meredith and her boutique with her kids. Wait, was her husband there? I think it was her husband and her daughter. And she wants to remodel it, making it the front part like a jewelry store area and then creating a caviar lounge. I don't understand it. It makes no sense to me, but if you get it, put it down below. We see Mary and Heather have lunch and them joke about the hospital smell thing. Then we see Whitney and Justin building a pole because Whitney lost her money and now she has time to get back on her at-home pole. Let's talk about Lisa and Bronwyn. So Lisa and Bronwyn meet up at Lisa's restaurant that Bronwyn didn't even know existed to speak one-on-one. Lisa says to Bronwyn, look, damaging things were said, and I'm sorry about that. It stemmed from the both of us feeling hurt in our friendship. I said things that I didn't realize were a big deal. And Bronwyn's like, yeah, I get that. I do understand that you didn't realize it was a big deal at first. Lisa's like, I take accountability for it, and I'm sorry that I hurt you guys. Bronwyn lets her know that at first she did appreciate Lisa's help. She did appreciate the fact that Lisa was friends to her daughter's father's side of the family, her bio dad's side of the family, and that she appreciated her trying to help her navigate the situation because she was familiar with his other grandparents, because she was friends with them. But towards the end, it shifted and it got dark to her, to the point where they both said things unintentionally and intentionally to hurt one another. I love the fact that they're both owning this. Bronwyn says that her asking if John knows about the lawsuits was not the same as Lisa saying that she sucks D for money. It's basically like you calling her a hoe. Lisa says she wasn't. You kind of were. They begin to go back and forth, but Bronwyn's like, let's not do this. Let's just agree to stop talking about each other and promise not to talk about each other's spouses. They come to an agreement. I wonder how long this is going to last. So they catch up on life. We find out Lisa's son is going to be back in like 2 months, that Gwen graduated and isn't doing anything. By not doing anything, does she mean she's not going to school, or does she mean she's not working? Because she would have to be doing one or the other in order to remain in my house, especially if she done brought her little boyfriend in there. She also lets her know that her mom is living in the house. They are good. Next, we get to Mary. So Mary's church has been closed for renovation. Her cousin that takes forever to complete a job is the general contractor. I understand that you want to put money in your cousin's pocket, but he would learn to stop playing around and taking forever to do jobs, because you taking forever is costing me money, yet you want me to invest in your company? No. You would need to treat me like the rest of your customers. Maybe I'll be more lenient in certain things in terms of the time that you do it, but it needs to be done in a timely fashion, because you're wasting her time, and it's not right. It's inconsiderate to not do things in a timely manner. So her and her cousin go to the church to check out the work that has been done. They've added some things, it looks like. I'm guessing she's saying, to the seats, and she points out some things that need to be corrected. Then the subject of her mom comes up. We are reminded that she and her mother did not have a good relationship, and it didn't help by Mary's grandmother's decision to, when she passed, give Mary her entire inheritance. It created further resentment. Now, everybody knew that this was her wishes. It was something that was spoken about previously, especially in terms of who the church would go to. But it got so bad at one point with her mother trying to make sure that she caused problems and that Mary didn't get to take over, that she, in church on a particular Sunday, decided that she was going to try to take over and lead the choir. And what they ended up doing was calling the popo on her. So the police eventually escorted Mary's mother out, and that just made things worse. So she said her mom was lying on her and her husband, took things to the blogs and the papers, and it was just a bunch of confusion. I still don't understand certain aspects of Mary's church. I have not forgotten some of the claims that were put out there. I do not know if Mary is a pastor or a first lady. I'm confused by that. But I also know that you need to do your own work and see what's best for you. Me personally, just the images on the wall that she has in there creep me out. So I personally would not be attending that church. But, others may find something there that helps them. So what we end up finding out is Mary's mom passed a few months ago. She's getting a little teary-eyed as she talks about it. And I instantly felt bad for her because her and her mother were never able to get it right. And I'm sure that weighs heavy on her, knowing that her mom is now gone and they stopped talking and then she passed. It's clear that she's torn on how she should feel about it. A part of her seems sad while a part of her admits that she's relieved. And her cousin says, it's more than understandable to feel how you feel. So we get to Brittany and Whitney. Brittany invited Whitney to the plant store because she feels badly about the negative things that she said about Whitney's business, especially after seeing how when Lisa did the same thing to her, what it looked and sounded like. So she apologizes. Whitney appreciates it and apologizes as well, saying that the things that she said about her and Jared were wrong too. That's not who she is. But I very much so think that this is exactly who Whitney is. Whitney loves to go low. We've seen Whitney do it multiple times with the various ladies on this cast. So don't try to act like that's not who you are when it very much so is who you are. Brittany lets her know that she and Jared are back together and they're working toward engagement again. Why? It's obvious that you guys are not ready for that. She says they're taking it slow, though, for the sake of their kids. This makes no sense to me. She's just now getting back in a relationship with her kids. We saw how excited she was last season just because her kid decided to talk to her on the phone or to come over. To me, her focus should be repairing her relationship with her kids, not this man. Because from what it sounds like Brittany was absentee when it came to her kids. So Whitney wants to know, what is your daughter? I think her name is Olivia. What does she think about this whole situation? And she's like, she wants me to stop picking guys. She feels like I'm picking guys over her. She's like, but it's hard for me to stop. You supposedly want a relationship with your children, and you can't just put it on pause and work out things with your daughter first before being focused on this man. It's not good. I don't like it. So she can't even imagine not seeing him for a little. So Whitney is like, look, your daughter should come first, even as an adult. Kids always need their parents. She's right. She even talks about how her and her mom, weren't on a good page for a while, and how much, she needed her mom, and how even with them being where they were, it's still something that you naturally seek out. But Brittany's like, I don't want to just sit home and wait for her. She doesn't even really want to hang with me. She doesn't want to hang with you because you keep showing her that you're putting other people before her. In my opinion, I put Brittany as male identified, and she will, more times than not, put a man before her kids. The way that she was looking when Whitney was telling her to pause or to put her kids first shows to me that she is not trying to do that. Whitney even holds her by her shoulders at one point. Is like, you got to put them first. Even it just means that you give him 30 days where you just focus on your daughter. You got to put her first. So let's talk about another mom and daughter pair, because that's the end of that scene. Bronwyn and her mama. I wrote in my notes, I am not a fan of Bronwyn's mom. The way she insists on humiliating her at every turn annoys me. We get it. She had a baby out of wedlock. It made you and your husband look bad. You didn't send her to college to get pregnant. Let it go. I also put, there is absolutely no remorse in the way that she treated her daughter, and I don't like it. I don't know what it is about this situation, but it bothers me more than I expected it to. And I don't know if it's because I too had my son out of wedlock. I too got pregnant while I was in college. Now, it was my last year of college. Nonetheless, I was still pregnant, and my family had their feelings about it. But seeing the way and hearing the way that her mother treated her really, really stirs up something in me. And I don't know. Y'all tell me what you think. So Gwen and her boyfriend are about to leave out, and they keep lying about where they're going. Bronwyn and her mom laugh about it. Then Bronwyn is like, Mom, could you imagine if at that age I wanted my boyfriend to live with us? And her mother says, no, that would never happen. I am with my her mother. I think a lot of us are. Now, if he's homeless, he can stay momentarily, but he would be in the opposite side of my house, and it would literally be, you're going to work for X amount of time, get on your feet, and then you're going to go and rent a room or something like that, because you're not encouraging them to be kids and to focus on their career, education, whatever. You're just allowing them to lay up in your house. And I'm not saying lay up like literally have relations. I'm talking about like just bum around your house while doing nothing. And that's not okay. So Bronwyn, unless he has a job, but still. So Bronwyn is still attaching shame to that period of her life. She says she messed up her mom's idea of the perfect Mormon family. Her mother lets Bronwyn know that the situation with the way that Gwen is moving doesn't bother Gwen because it doesn't bother Bronwyn. She's following her mother's example. It was something about the way that was said. I was like, ooh. Now, she's not completely wrong, but it sounds like you're throwing a dig at your granddaughter. Because before that, they were talking about premarital sex. And I didn't like the tone. Anyways, so as far as her mom is concerned, their parenting is different. She was never that way with Bronwyn. And Bronwyn's like, well, how well do you think your parenting worked? Because I did have sex and I got pregnant. And her mom said, you could have like, I can't remember the way that she said it. Like, basically, there was no way she would have bet on it that her daughter wouldn't have been having sex or smoking or drinking. And then it turns out she was doing all those things. And she's talking about how she gives her tough love, which is something that Bronwyn struggles with to this day. We find out then that her mother purposely at times made it hard for her. She did not let Bronwyn have a baby shower. She did not let her get excited about her pregnancy. She was not allowed to be celebrated. Her pregnancy was basically a negative experience. I understand that you do not agree with the fact that she got pregnant when she did. But to punish her like that when she was already punishing herself enough is too much for me. I personally remember when I found out that I was pregnant, and I kept it quiet for a long time. By the time I text my mom to tell her, my mom had to come and jump in the car and see me. At the time I was going to school in Richmond, and when she opened the door, she saw my stomach. She went in the bathroom and she cried because I was really, really far along. But they did not penalize me for it. Now, my father was mad, and there was a period where he wasn't in communication with me. And we've since, done some sessions, and he's apologized and things like that. And I get that they're human. But the difference here is the people who had negative things to say or reacted negatively corrected it by showing remorse, by apologizing. Her mom is not going to do that at all. And if you're supposed to be someone who I don't know is supposed to be of the church and things of that nature, I would think that there should be some forgiveness there, but it doesn't seem like there's any. So we also find out that Bronwyn and both of her sisters were all pregnant at the same time. Bronwyn went to the Baby Gap with her mom, and her mom is purchasing things. And the cashier or the clerk is thinking that some of the stuff that she's getting is for Bronwyn's baby. And she tells her, no, it's not for her. And she apologizes thinking, oh, I thought Bronwyn was pregnant, but she's not. She's like, no, I am. It's just not for me. Her mom tells her it's not her fault that she basically made her pregnancy miserable because she was miserable while she was trying to hide that her daughter was pregnant. You didn't need to hide it. The church is going to feel whatever way they feel about you. So be it. Your main concern should have been your daughter, but everybody doesn't think that way. Bronwyn says it just reinforces that after 20 years, this hurt her the most, that her mother makes it seem like, she did nothing wrong. So, her mom says if it wasn't for her, Gwen would probably be in foster care because something was said about her just dropping off the baby. And she's like, yeah, I had to go to work. She says, you didn't want her to be adopted. You wanted to keep her, which makes me wonder if at some point they wanted her to put the baby up for adoption. She says you were struggling to take care of her. I don't even see why you would bring that up. It's like she's trying to make excuses for the decisions that she's made as a mom to Bronwyn and a grandparent to Gwen. So Bronwyn is like, I said that whole daycare thing. Her mom says, well, what would have happened if we didn't take care of her? You didn't want her in foster care. And I just feel like, why would she be in foster care if you didn't watch her from time to time? I don't know. I remember my aunt, she was addicted to drugs. She left when my cousin was 6 months old, disappeared for a whole 15, 16 years, then reappeared. During that whole time period, none of the family heard from her or anything like that. My grandmother and my youngest auntie took it upon themselves to raise my cousin. It's what family does. So she's talking and I'm just like, family steps in, like you're acting like this is someone who's far removed from you. This is your granddaughter. I just didn't like it. Anyways, so her mom says, well, I just want you to know that just because I don't say you're wonderful and amazing, it doesn't mean that you aren't. I said, okay, we're getting somewhere here. But then she changes it and makes me feel differently because she's like, I don't want you thinking that you're so wonderful that you are too good. You always want to humble your daughter. And I don't like that. I don't. So let's get to this final scene that I thought was whack of Angie. Angie and Meredith meet up. They catch up. Meredith asks Angie how she feels about the other day. Angie lets her know, I thought Lisa and I were good until her assistant showed up at my salon to pick up the Fresh Wolf products. So Meredith's like, well, I think you should give her some grace, especially when you talk about the kids. We get reactive. And I do not think it was about the kids. Y'all tell me, was it about the kids? I could be wrong. Just tell me. So I feel like Angie went out like a chump because she waits until now to tell Meredith about something that Lisa previously did, saying that when she and Meredith weren't good, Lisa not only encouraged her to, but she gave her topics or things to research about Meredith, people to Google, bankruptcy, and all these other things. And she didn't do it because that's not who she is, but it's clear that that's who Lisa is. Angie, this is not a good look, mama. It's not. Especially because unless you never watched the other seasons, Meredith is already aware this is what her friend does. Because she did it to her. She made certain accusations about it not even been true that she went to her father's funeral. So it's not like a first, okay? Meredith lets her know that she's gonna talk to Lisa about it. She doesn't understand why she would tell Angie to do something like that. And Angie's like, yeah, you should talk to her. And that's the end of the episodes. Y'all, if there's something that I missed that you want to talk about, feel free to put it down below. I think that this was a very good episode. I am not finding myself bored. I think that the ladies of Salt Lake City are bringing it, and I like it. And it looks like next week is going to be a hot mess too, because Meredith's going to bring it up, and I don't know what happens with Angie and Mary, but Angie and Mary are going to have words too. Let me know what you thought of this video. Like the video, as I said earlier, because it helps the channel. Thank you guys so much. We're on the road to, what am I on the road to? 4K? And I hope to get there sooner than later. Until next time, peace.